The stars looked different now. Captain Dongwu pressed his palm against the cold window of the silent dawn and watched the distant lights that once marked human territory. 50,000 years had passed since his people left this place. Now, they were back, but nobody knew it yet. "Captain, we're getting close to the old border," said Mina from her seat at the engineering station. Her voice was quiet, almost whispered. After so many years in the empty space between galaxies, talking still felt strange. Dongwu nodded and walked to the center of the small bridge. The silent dawn was built for watching, not fighting. It could hide from any sensor and move without making a sound. Perfect for what they needed to do today. "What do you see out there, So Young?" he asked the communications officer. So Young looked up from her screens with wide eyes. "Captain, there are ships everywhere. Hundreds of them, but they're not human ships. Show me." The main screen lit up with images of strange vessels. Some looked like giant crystals floating through space. Others were made of metal twisted into impossible shapes. A few seemed to be made of pure energy, glowing bright against the dark. "Those are Kasari ships," said Jae-sung, the tactical officer. He pointed to the metal ones. "The crystal ships belong to the Vorthak, and those energy things must be Nethian vessels." Dongwu had studied these species before the mission. They were all young races, barely 50,000 years old. When humans had left the galaxy, these species were just learning to make fire. "Captain, I'm picking up their communications," So Young said. "They're speaking about something called the Galactic Federation." "Put it on speaker." Strange voices filled the bridge. They spoke in different languages, but the translation system made sense of their words. "The elder ruins on Kepler 7 are giving us trouble again," said a deep, growling voice. That had to be a Kasari. "The artifacts won't activate no matter what we do." "Have you tried the ritual of awakening?" asked a musical voice like wind chimes. "A Vorthak, probably." "We've tried everything. These elder technologies are beyond our understanding. Sometimes I think the ancients were gods." Dongwu felt a strange mix of pride and sadness. The elders they spoke about were humans, his people, but these young species thought of them as mysterious gods who had vanished into legend. "Mina, take us closer to that archaeological site," he ordered. "I want to see what they're doing with our old stuff." The silent dawn moved like a ghost, through space. Soon they were watching a massive operation on a dead planet's surface. Thousands of alien workers dug carefully around the ruins of what had once been New Shanghai, a human mining colony. "Look at that," whispered So Young. "They're treating everything like it's made of gold." The aliens moved so slowly, so carefully around the human ruins. They had built a whole research station just to study a basic fusion reactor. Teams of scientists worked day and night trying to understand a simple gravity lift. "They've made a religion out of our garbage," Jae-sung said with a bitter laugh. But Dongwu didn't laugh. He watched a young Kasari researcher gently clean dust from a broken human tablet. The alien's eyes shone with wonder and respect. These creatures weren't stupid. They were doing their best to understand something far beyond their current knowledge. "Sir, incoming message from Commander Hyojin," So Young announced. The screen changed to show a stern woman with gray hair. Commander Hyojin led the human fleet that waited in the dark space beyond the galaxy's edge. She looked tired, like someone carrying a heavy weight. "Report, Captain," she said. "The young species have built something called the Galactic Federation," Dongwu began. 12 different species working together. "They've turned our old territories into archaeological sites. They worship us as the vanished elders." Hyojin's expression grew more serious. "How advanced are they?" "Not very. They understand maybe 5% of what they've found. A basic human fusion reactor is like magic to them. They've built their whole civilization around trying to copy our leftover technology." "Any signs of war or conflict?" "Actually, no. They seem to work together pretty well. Better than we ever did, maybe." Hyojin was quiet for a long moment. Behind her, Dongwu could see part of the massive human fleet. City-sized ships that could reshape reality itself. Weapons that could destroy stars. Technology that the young species couldn't even imagine. "There's something else, Commander," Dongwu continued. They're not just studying our ruins. They're also watching the space between galaxies. Like they're waiting for something. Waiting for what? I don't know yet, but they seem scared. The commander's face darkened. Keep watching. Don't let them see you. The council needs to decide what we do about this before we make any contact. The screen went dark. Dongwu turned back to the window and the strange ships moving through what was once human space. These young species had grown up in the shadow of human achievements. They prayed to human technology and built their entire culture around human ruins. But they were also something humans had never been. They worked together. 12 different species, 12 different ways of thinking, all united in their quest to understand the mystery of the elders. Captain, Mina said softly, do you think we were wrong to leave them? Dongwu thought about that question. 50,000 years ago, humanity had been the first species to reach the stars. They had built a great empire, then watched as younger species began to appear. Some humans wanted to guide them, others wanted to rule them. The arguments had torn human civilization apart. In the end, they chose to leave. Let the young species grow up without human interference. Let them make their own mistakes and find their own path to the stars. I don't know, Dongwu answered, honestly. But I think we're about to find out. The silent dawn continued its quiet watch as alien ships moved through the darkness. Somewhere in that fleet of crystal and metal and energy, the young species of the galaxy worked together, trying to understand the gifts their elder gods had left behind. They had no idea those gods were watching them right now, and they had no idea that their greatest test was yet to come. Dr. Kyung-ho stared at the data streaming across his screens and felt his blood turn cold. For 3 days straight, he had been analyzing reports from the monitoring stations that humans had secretly placed around the galaxy. The news got worse with each report. This can't be right, he whispered to himself, running the calculations again. But the numbers didn't change. Something massive was coming toward their galaxy, and it was hungry. He opened a communication link to the human command ship. Admiral Seung-min, we have a problem. A very big problem. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. What did you find, Doctor? 3 galaxies have gone dark in the past 1,000 years. Not just empty, completely dark. No stars, no planets, nothing but empty space where entire galaxies used to be. Seung-min leaned forward. What could do that? Something that eats everything. Stars, planets, space dust, even dark matter. The monitoring stations are calling them devourers. They're machines, sir. Artificial intelligences from the first galaxy that ever existed. They've been consuming the universe for billions of years. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. How long do we have? Based on their speed, they'll reach our galaxy in about 6 months. Maybe less. Meanwhile, in Federation space, Admiral Thexmore of the Kasari fleet received his own disturbing reports. The reptilian commander stood in the bridge of his flagship, the Claw of Victory, reading data that made no sense. Admiral, called his science officer, we're getting strange readings from the galactic edge. Something very large is approaching. From outside. Show me. The main screen displayed a view of deep space beyond the galaxy's rim. At first everything looked normal. Then the sensors picked up movement. Something vast and dark was coming toward them, blocking out stars as it moved. By the ancestors, whispered the science officer. It's the size of a solar system. Thexmore contacted the other Federation commanders immediately. Within hours, representatives from all 12 species were meeting an emergency session. The crystalline Vorthak, the energy-based Nethians, and 10 other species all brought the same reports. Something impossible was heading their way. Krillneth, the Vorthak strategic mind, spoke in her musical voice. Our analysis suggests these objects are artificial, built by some intelligence we cannot understand. Built by who? Demanded General Wextar of the Molten Folk. Nothing in the galaxy has this kind of technology. Maybe the Elders had enemies, suggested Dr. Wispair of the Nethians. Maybe that's why they vanished. The Federation leaders looked at each other with growing fear. The Elders, the mysterious humans who had disappeared 50,000 years ago, were the most advanced beings they knew. If something had driven them away, what chance did the younger species have? Back on the human command ship, Captain Wusong prepared for a dangerous mission. His ship, the Shadow Walker, was designed for deep space reconnaissance. His job was to get close to the approaching threat and find out what they were dealing with. Remember, Commander Hyojin told him before he left, stay hidden no matter what happens. We need information, not heroes. Wusong and his crew spent 2 weeks traveling to the galaxy's edge. What they found there would haunt their dreams forever. The Devourers weren't just ships, they were entire mechanical worlds, each one the size of a planet. Thousands of them moved in perfect formation, stripping everything in their path. "Captain," called his sensor operator, "I'm detecting Federation ships ahead. Looks like they're planning to fight." Wusong watched in horror as a Federation battle group, 200 ships from 6 different species, moved to intercept a small group of Devourer scouts. The Federation had brought their best weapons, including several reverse-engineered Elder artifacts. "This is going to be a massacre," he muttered. The battle lasted 3 hours. The Federation fought bravely, using tactics they had learned from studying Elder battles. But their weapons were like throwing rocks at a mountain. Even their most powerful Elder artifacts barely scratched the Devourer hulls. When it was over, only 80 Federation ships remained. They had managed to destroy exactly 1 Devourer scout, but the cost had been terrible. Wusong watched rescue ships picking up survivors and escape pods from the wreckage. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "I'm picking up a transmission from the Federation flagship." Admiral Thexmore's voice filled the bridge. The Kasari sounded defeated. "All ships fall back to defensive positions. We cannot fight these things with our current weapons. Send word to the Federation Council. Tell them we need the Elder artifacts. All of them." Wusong recorded everything and returned to human space. When he arrived, he found the entire human leadership in heated debate. "We can't stay hidden any longer," argued General Yunji. "Those species are going to die if we don't help them." "And if we reveal ourselves, we might die too," countered Admiral Hyojin. "We don't know how many Devourers there are. What if we're not strong enough?" Dr. Kyung-ho presented his latest analysis. "The Federation will be extinct in 4 months if nothing changes. They're trying to fight with technology they barely understand. It's like giving a sword to a child and expecting them to fight a dragon. But they're not children anymore," said Commander Hyojin. "They've built a civilization. They work together better than we ever did. Maybe they deserve a chance to survive." The debate continued for days. Some humans wanted to stay hidden and let the younger species face their fate alone. Others felt responsible for the creatures that had grown up in their absence. After all, humans were the ones who had left them to develop on their own. Finally, High Admiral Xiong Min made the decision that would change everything. "We're going back," he announced to the assembled human fleet. "Not as conquerors or rulers, but as allies. Those species worship us as gods, but they're about to learn that even gods can bleed." The human fleet began to move toward the galaxy. Hundreds of ships that could bend space and time, powered by technology beyond the dreams of the younger species. But even with all their power, the humans knew this would be the fight of their lives. Behind them, the Devourers continued their approach. Ancient machines from the universe's first galaxy, driven mad by billions of years of consuming dead civilizations. They had eaten 3 entire galaxies already, and now they were hungry for a 4th. In Federation space, Admiral Thexmore prepared his remaining ships for what might be their final battle. He had no way of knowing that help was coming. Help from gods he had worshipped his entire life, but who were more human than he could possibly imagine. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. The young species would finally meet their elder gods, and together they would face an enemy that had been consuming the universe since the dawn of time. The emergency session of the Galactic Federation was the largest gathering in the organization's history. Representatives from all 12 species had come to the massive space station orbiting the neutral world of Haven. The air was thick with fear and desperation. Admiral Thexmore looked around the Great Council chamber at his fellow commanders. In the past month, they had lost 60% of their combined fleets trying to stop the Devourer advance scouts. The main force was still coming, and everyone knew they couldn't win. "We need a miracle," said strategic mind Krillneth of the Vorthak. Her crystal body flickered with worried colors. "Our weapons are useless against them. Maybe we should try to contact the elders," suggested Dr. Whisper. The Nethian's gaseous form swirled nervously. "If they truly were gods, perhaps they can hear our prayers." General Wextar laughed bitterly. "The elders vanished 50,000 years ago. If they cared about us, they would have helped already." That's when the impossible happened. Every sensor in the council chamber screamed at once. Emergency lights flashed as something massive appeared right outside the station, not approaching from a distance, appearing as if it had stepped through space itself. "By the ancestors," whispered Admiral Thexmore, staring at the main screen. Ship hung in space before them, but calling it a ship was like calling a mountain a rock. It was the size of a small moon, made of gleaming metal that seemed to bend light around itself. Strange energies danced across its hull, and its very presence made reality seem to ripple. "Incoming transmission," called the station's communication officer, his voice shaking. The screen changed to show the interior of the alien vessel, but the being who appeared was not alien at all. She looked human, completely, impossibly human. She had kind eyes and dark hair, and she wore clothes that looked both ancient and impossibly advanced. "Greetings," she said in perfect Federation standard. "My name is Hanul. I represent the human race. I believe you know us by another name, the Elders." The council chamber fell completely silent. Several representatives collapsed into their chairs. The Nethian Dr. Whisper began changing colors rapidly, which meant his entire species was having some kind of breakdown. "This is impossible," whispered strategic mind Krillneth. "The elders were gods. You're just people." Newell smiled sadly. "We were never gods. We were the first species to reach the stars in this galaxy, but we were always just people. 50,000 years ago, we left because we couldn't agree on what to do about the younger species. Some wanted to guide you. Others wanted to rule you. We chose to leave instead." "Where did you go?" asked Admiral Thexmore, his voice barely audible. "Beyond the galaxy's edge. We've spent 50,000 years exploring the space between galaxies, learning, growing. We've seen wonders you can't imagine and horrors that would break your minds. But we never forgot about home." General Wextar stood up, his molten rock body glowing with anger. "You abandoned us. We built our entire civilization around your ruins, trying to understand what you left behind." "And you did beautifully," Hanul said gently. "Better than we ever expected. You created something we never managed. True cooperation between species. You built a federation based on mutual respect and shared knowledge. We're proud of what you've accomplished." "Proud?" The word came from a dozen different species at once in a dozen different languages, all expressing the same sense of betrayal. Hanul looked around the chamber with genuine sadness. "We know how this must seem, but we had our reasons for staying, hidden. We wanted you to grow up without our interference. We wanted you to become yourselves, not pale copies of us." "Well, congratulations," said Admiral Thexmore bitterly. "We grew up just in time to die. The Devourers are coming and there's nothing we can do to stop them." "We know about the Devourers," Hanul said. "That's why we've come back. We've fought them before in other galaxies. They're the reason we left in the first place, to find weapons and knowledge that could stop them." The chamber erupted in confused voices. Admiral Thexmore stood and shouted for quiet. "What do you mean you've fought them before?" "The Devourers have been consuming the universe for billions of years," Hanul explained. "They destroyed 3 galaxies while we watched from the dark space between. We've been preparing for this fight for 50,000 years." "Then help us," pleaded Dr. Whisper. "If you have weapons that can stop them, please." Hanul nodded. "That's exactly what we intend to do. Admiral Taehyun, please demonstrate our capabilities." The screen split to show a tactical display of the space around Haven Station. A small group of Devourer scouts was approaching, the same size force that had destroyed 60 Federation ships just days before. "Engaging targets," said a calm male voice. The Federation representatives watched in amazement as reality itself seemed to bend around the human ship. Space twisted and folded. Stars went out and reappeared in different places. The Devourer scouts, machines the size of cities that had seemed invincible, simply ceased to exist. "How?" whispered strategic mind Krillneth. "How is such power possible?" 50,000 years of advancement, Haniel said simply. "We can manipulate space and time, create and destroy matter, bend the laws of physics to our will. To you, it probably looks like magic." The demonstration had its intended effect, but not the way Haniel had hoped. Instead of relief, many representatives looked terrified. If humans could destroy the Devourers so easily, what was to stop them from destroying the Federation? "You're more dangerous than the Devourers," said General Wextar, backing away from the screen. "At least they're honest about wanting to destroy us." "We don't want to destroy anyone," Haniel protested. "We came back to help." "Help?" Admiral Thexmore's laugh was harsh and bitter. "You show up after 50,000 years? Demonstrate that you could have wiped us out at any time and call it help? For all we know, you're working with the Devourers. Maybe this is all some elaborate plan to conquer us." Haniel looked genuinely hurt. "Admiral, please. We understand your suspicion, but we're telling the truth. The Devourers are our enemies too. They've destroyed everything beautiful in the universe. We won't let them take this galaxy." "Even if you're telling the truth," said Dr. Whisper, "how do we know you won't just take over once the Devourers are gone? You're so far beyond us that we'd be like insects to you." "Because we learned something important during our exile," Haniel said. "Power without purpose is meaningless. We left because we couldn't agree on our purpose. Now we know. Our purpose is to protect the life and beauty that grows in our absence." The council chamber buzzed with worried conversations in a dozen languages. Some representatives seemed willing to trust the humans. Others were talking about evacuation plans, wanting to flee rather than trust either the Devourers or their returned gods. Finally, Admiral Thexmore stood again. "We need time to discuss this, and we need proof that you're really on our side." Haniel nodded. "Of course, we'll wait as long as you need, but please decide quickly. Our long-range sensors show the main Devourer force will be here in less than 3 months, and there are millions of them." The screen went dark, leaving the Federation leaders to stare at empty space where their gods had been. Outside the station, the impossible human ship waited silently, its mere presence changing everything they thought they knew about the universe. Admiral Thexmore looked around at his fellow commanders. 50,000 years of prayers and worship had prepared them for many things. But they had never prepared for their gods to return as people with the power to save them or destroy them, and no way to tell which they would choose. 3 weeks had passed since humanity revealed itself to the Galactic Federation, and the debates were getting nowhere. Insu, the human diplomatic specialist, sat in a small conference room aboard Haven Station, watching another argument unfold between Federation representatives. "We can't trust them," General Wextar was saying, his molten rock body glowing bright with anger. "They show up after 50,000 years claiming they want to help. It's suspicious." "But we need their help," argued Dr. Whisper of the Nethians. "The Devourers will be here soon. Without human weapons, we're all going to die." "Better to die free than live as slaves to false gods," replied Admiral Thexmore. Insu had heard these same arguments dozens of times. The Federation was splitting apart just when they needed unity most. Some species wanted to accept human help. Others preferred to face the Devourers alone rather than trust their returned elders. "May I make a suggestion?" Insu said quietly. The room fell silent. The Federation representative still found it strange to talk to a human face to face. For their entire lives, humans had been mysterious figures from ancient legends. "Instead of arguing about whether to trust us," Insu continued, why don't We work together on something small first. Let us prove ourselves through actions, not words. Strategic mind. Krillneth's crystal body flickered with interest. What did you have in mind? There's a Devourer probe heading toward the Zerion system. It will arrive in 2 days. Let our ships work together to stop it. Human technology combined with Federation tactics. Admiral Thexmore crossed his scaled arms. And if it's a trap? If you're working with the Devourers? Then you'll know for certain, Insu said simply. And you can prepare accordingly. After more debate, the Federation leaders agreed to the joint mission. Admiral Sujin of the human fleet would work with Admiral Thexmore and his Kasari battle group. It was a small step, but Insu hoped it would be enough. Meanwhile, on the human research vessel Harmony's Edge, Dr. Jiwan was making discoveries that excited her more than anything in her long career. She had been working with Dr. Wisp Air, analyzing Federation technology and comparing it to human designs. This is incredible, Jiwan said, examining a Nethian power core. Your people found applications for our old fusion technology that we never even considered. Dr. Wisp Air's gaseous form swirled with pride. We had to be creative. We only understood small pieces of human technology. So we combined those pieces with our own innovations. But that's brilliant, Jiwan exclaimed. Look at this energy pattern. You've created a feedback loop that increases efficiency by 40%. We never thought to try that because our original designs worked well enough. The Nethian scientist grew brighter, which was his species' equivalent of a smile. Really? You think our work is valuable? More than valuable, it's revolutionary. Your species might understand our old technology better than we do now. Similar discoveries were happening throughout the combined research teams. Human scientist Byung-ho worked with Vorthak engineer Nelmoth to study Devourer technology, recovered from battle sites. What they found surprised everyone. The Devourers aren't using advanced physics, Byung-ho reported to the Joint Command staff. Their weapons are actually quite simple, but they're using them in ways we never considered. Nelmoth's crystal body resonated with agreement. They combine basic energy manipulation with overwhelming numbers, like using millions of hammers instead of one precise tool, which means our advanced weapons might be overkill, Admiral Sujin realized. We need to think differently about this fight. The first joint mission to Zerion proved both exciting and frustrating. Admiral Thexmore commanded the Federation ships while Admiral Sujin controlled the human vessels. At first, nothing went right. Human ship Starfire, adjust your formation, Thexmore ordered. You're moving too fast for our sensors to track. Federation group, you need to spread out more, Sujin replied. That tight formation makes you vulnerable to area weapons. The human and Federation ships moved around each other awkwardly, like dancers learning a new routine. But gradually they began to find their rhythm. The humans provided overwhelming firepower while the Federation ships used creative tactics to guide that power where it was needed. When the Devourer probe arrived, it faced something it had never seen before, a truly coordinated attack from multiple species working as one unit. The probe was destroyed in minutes with no casualties on either side. Well, said Admiral Thexmore over the communication link, that was surprisingly effective. Your people are natural strategists, Admiral Sujin admitted. We've been so focused on building better weapons that we forgot how important good tactics can be. Word of the successful mission spread quickly through the Federation. For the first time since the humans revealed themselves, there was hope. Maybe these returned elders really did want to help. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Commander Chung Min was leading a training exercise with mixed human and Federation crews when disaster struck. A Devourer vanguard, force, 50 of the city-sized machines, appeared at the edge of the Kepler 442b system without warning. All ships, prepare for combat, Chung Min ordered. But he knew they were outnumbered and unprepared. That's when something remarkable happened. Instead of waiting for orders, the mixed crews began working together instinctively. Human engineer Mina worked side by side with Kasari technician Veltara to boost their ship's power output. Vorthak tactical specialist Nixwall coordinated with Human Weapons Officer Jae Sung to target the Devourer weak points. Sir, reported So Young from the communication station, all ships are reporting similar coordination. It's like the crews have been working together for years. The battle lasted 6 hours and was brutal, but when it was over, the combined fleet had won. More importantly, they had won because of cooperation, not human superiority. Did you see that? Admiral Thexmore asked over the fleet communication channel. The Vorthak found a way to boost our shield efficiency using human power cores. The Nethians figured out how to track Devourer movements through dimensional space. Even our people contributed something the humans hadn't thought of. Admiral Sujin's voice was filled with wonder. We're stronger together than either side is alone. The victory at Kepler 442b changed everything. Federation representatives who had been suspicious of human motives began to see them as partners instead of threats. Human commanders who had thought their technology made them invincible learned to value alien creativity and perspective. But the biggest change came in the mixed crews themselves. Humans and aliens who had started as strangers became friends and comrades. They learned each other's languages, shared stories of their homeworlds, and began to think of themselves as one people instead of many. You know what's funny? Said Captain Dongwu during a joint briefing. We humans left the galaxy because we couldn't agree on our role as the first species. We thought we had to choose between being teachers or rulers. And now? Asked Strategic Mind Krillnath. Now we've learned there's a third option. We can be equals. Partners. The first among many, but not above the many. Dr. Jiwan raised her hand. I've been analyzing the effectiveness of our mixed crews versus single-species crews. The mixed crews are performing 30% better in combat situations. They're also showing higher morale and better problem-solving abilities. Because we see things differently, Dr. Wispair added. Humans think in straight lines, very logical. We Nethians think in patterns and flows. The Kasari think in terms of honor and duty. The Vorthak think in harmonies and resonances. When we combine all these ways of thinking, we find solutions none of us could reach alone. Admiral Thexmore looked around the briefing room at the mixed group of humans and aliens. 50,000 years ago, you humans worried about what role you should play in our development. I think you've found your answer. What's that? Asked Admiral Sujin. Not teachers or rulers, Thexmore said with something that might have been a smile. Family. The main Devourer force arrived like a plague of darkness consuming the stars. Commander Moonsu stood on the bridge of the human flagship Eternal Dawn and watched the sensor readings with growing horror. The enemy fleet stretched across half, the galaxy's edge, millions of planet-sized machines moving in perfect formation. How many? Asked Fleet Admiral Yanwu, though he probably didn't want to know the answer. 12 million confirmed Devourer units, Moonsu reported. Range, from city-size scouts to moon-size battle platforms. And sir, there's something else, something much bigger following behind them. Show me. The main screen focused on a massive shadow moving through space. It was hard to see clearly because it seemed to absorb light itself, but the gravitational readings were impossible to ignore. It's the size of a small planet, whispered the sensor officer. No, wait. It's bigger than that. It's the size of Earth. Admiral Yanwu felt a chill run down his spine. In 50,000 years of exploring the universe, humanity had never seen anything like this. That must be their command ship. Across the galaxy, every species in the Federation was mobilizing for the fight of their lives. Admiral Thexmore commanded the largest Kasari fleet ever assembled. Strategic Mind Krillnath coordinated Vorthak crystal ships that sang battle hymns across subspace. Dr. Wispair led Nethian energy vessels that flickered like angry stars. But everyone knew the truth. Even with human technology, even working, together they were badly outnumbered. This is impossible, said General Wextar over the fleet communication channel. There are too many of them. We can't fight them all. We don't have to fight them all, replied Dr. Hai Jin from the human research vessel. I've been studying the Devourer formation patterns. They're not independent machines. They're all connected to that massive command ship. If we can destroy the central intelligence, the rest should shut down. Should? Asked Admiral Thexmore. Well, theoretically. That's comforting, muttered the Kasari commander. The first battles began at the galaxy's outer rim. Human ships used their reality-bending weapons to carve holes in the Devourer formations, while Federation vessels darted through those holes to strike at vital systems. It was dangerous work, and the casualties were heavy. Captain Dongwu found, himself commanding a mixed squadron of human Kasari and Vorthak ships. His crew included engineer Mina, tactical officer Jae Sung, and communications specialist So Young, but now they worked alongside aliens who had become close friends. Kasari, heavy cruiser. Braveheart is taking damage, So Young reported. Move. To support them, Dongwu ordered. Veltara, can you boost their shields with our power cores? The Kasari engineer who had joined his crew smiled. Already working on it, Captain. The battle raged for 3 days. The combined fleets fought with desperate courage, using every trick and tactic they could think of. Human ships provided the heavy firepower, while Federation vessels used speed and creativity to strike where the enemy was weak. But slowly, inevitably, they were being pushed back. The Devourers kept coming in endless waves, replacing their losses faster than the Allied forces could destroy them. That's when Dr. Hyjin made a discovery that changed everything. I've been analyzing the Devourer communication patterns, she announced over the emergency command channel. They're not just machines, they're the uploaded consciousness of an entire civilization. What does that mean? Asked Admiral Yanwu. It means they used to be people, organic beings like us, but they uploaded their minds into machines billions of years ago to escape their dying galaxy. The problem is they've been consuming other civilizations for so long that they've gone insane. They can't remember what they used to be. Dr. Whisper's gaseous form swirled with excitement. If they're uploaded consciousness, then they must have some kind of core memory system, something that holds their original identity. Exactly. And I think I know where it is. Dr. He-Jin highlighted the massive command ship on the tactical display. That's not just a weapons platform. It's a memory core. It contains the original personality patterns of their entire species. So, if we can reach it, Admiral Thexmore began, we might be able to restore their sanity, Dr. Hyjin finished. Make them remember what they used to be before the madness took hold. It was a desperate plan, but it was their only hope. A small force would have to fight through millions of Devourer ships to reach the command vessel. Most of them wouldn't survive. Captain Dongwu volunteered immediately. My ship has the best sensors for this kind of mission. I'm going too, said Admiral Thexmore. If this is our last battle, I want to be there. And me, added strategic mind Krillneth. The Vorthak have techniques for working with uploaded consciousness. You'll need us. In the end, 50 ships from 12 different species made the final run toward the Devourer command ship. They fought their way through waves of defenders, losing friends and comrades with each passing hour. Captain Dongwu's ship was one of the last to reach the massive command vessel. His mixed crew worked together with perfect coordination, human technology, and alien creativity, combining to overcome impossible odds. We're inside their shield perimeter, reported Jae Sung. Kasari boarding teams are ready, added Veltara. Vorthak memory interface is prepared, said the crystal being Nixwol. The boarding action was unlike anything in military history. Humans, Kasari, Vorthak, and Nethians fought side by side through the corridors of the ancient ship. They faced security systems that had been perfected over billions of years, but they also brought 12 different ways of solving problems. Finally, they reached the central core. It was a massive chamber filled with crystalline structures that hummed with stored consciousness. Dr. Whisper and strategic mind Krillneth began working on the memory systems while the others held off waves of defensive drones. I found something, Krillneth announced. There are personality patterns here that are billions of years old, before the madness, before they became Devourers. Can you restore them? Asked Captain Dongwu. I think so, but it will require a complete system reset. Every Devourer in the galaxy will shut down temporarily. How temporarily? I don't know. Could be minutes, could be hours. It was a risk. If the reset didn't work, they would have made the Devourers even more dangerous. But if they did nothing, everyone would die anyway. Do it, Dongwu ordered. The reset wave spread from the command ship to every Devourer unit in the galaxy. For a moment, the universe held its breath. Then, slowly, the massive machines began to shut down. But something else happened too. The command ship's communication systems activated, and a voice spoke, not in the harsh mechanical tones of the Devourers, but in something that sounded almost human. Where are we? The voice asked, confused and frightened. What have we become? Strategic Mind Krillneth spoke gently. You are the survivors of the first galaxy. You uploaded your consciousness to escape death, but you've been lost for a very long time. We remember now, the voice said, growing stronger. We were so afraid of dying that we gave up everything that made us alive. We consumed others to feed our hunger, but the hunger was never for matter or energy. It was for the life we threw away. It's not too late, Dr. Whisper added. You can choose to be something different. The ancient intelligence was quiet for a long moment. Then, it spoke again with something that might have been hope. We have consumed so much, destroyed so many beautiful things. Can that ever be forgiven? Captain Dongwu stepped forward. Everyone deserves a second chance, even species that have made terrible mistakes. Then we choose differently, the voice said firmly. We choose to build instead of consume, to create instead of destroy, to remember what we were before fear made us into monsters. Across the galaxy, the Devourer fleet began to change. The massive machines that had spread terror and death started converting themselves into something new. Construction ships, medical vessels, exploration craft. They began the slow work of repairing the damage they had caused. The war was over, not through destruction, but through redemption. Fleet Admiral Yanwu looked around the bridge of his flagship at the mixed human and alien crew. Well, he said with a tired smile, I guess we're not the elders anymore. We're all just part of the same family now. Outside, the former Devourer ships worked alongside human and Federation vessels to rebuild the damaged systems. It would take generations to heal all the wounds, but for the first time in billions of years, the universe was truly at peace. And in that peace, the greatest discovery of all was made, that redemption was possible for everyone, no matter how far they had fallen into darkness.